Welcome to Inequalities in One Variable. Remember, the best way to use these videos is to watch with your notes, pause when you need to write extra things down, and every time we arrive at a you try, pause and attempt the problem, and the solutions along with my work will be shown when you press play. These are the topics we'll be covering in this video. We're going to recap the symbols. A lot of times teachers teach this with alligator signs and things like that. We need to make sure that we understand, like with all things in math, we read from left to right. So it's really important that the X is the very first thing we see. And then we're going to read from left to right. So when I read from left to right, the first thing I see is this dot, the smaller point. That means this is a less than symbol. When I read from left to right here, the first thing I see is that openness. That means it's a greater than symbol. And then if there's a half of an equal sign underneath it, then it's an equal to. So again, we're reading from left to right. I see that point, less than, I see that line, or equal to. Again, we're always reading from left to right. Variable is always on the left side. The first thing I see is that openness, so it's going to be a greater than, I have a half a line here, or equal to. The symbol determines the type of circle we draw on a graph and the direction of that ray. So let's practice our symbols. So the way we read this is X is less than something. So the type of circle for less than is an open circle, and that indicates that it's not included. It's simply less than. And then if you were to take that inequality symbol and add a tail to it, that would give you the arrow that you want to draw on the end. And at the end of your arrow should be the inequality symbol. So it should match. So if you take a look, the end of this, it matches that. Good. So let's take a look at the next one. We have a greater than, so that's an open circle. And then you can kind of draw a tail if you need to. Okay, it's going to look like that. And you can always double check by drawing, okay, what does the end of my arrow look like? Okay, that's the greater than symbol. When we have a less than or equal to, we're going to use a closed circle. And it's still less than, it moves in this direction. And again, the end of that arrow should match that symbol. When we do a greater than or equal to, we've got our closed circle. We're going to move in this direction, and you can double check that the end of that arrow matches the inequality symbol. Great. So, key things to remember when we're solving. When you multiply or divide both sides by a negative number, you reverse the direction of the sign. So if it was a less than, it becomes a greater than. X always needs to go on the left before graphing. Again, X always needs to go first or on the left before graphing. All right, we're going to do two examples and then you'll try. So solve and graph. I'm going to use a dotted line here to help me remember it's an open circle. And then I'm just going to solve this exactly like an equation. I'm going to add 7 to both sides. I get 3x is less than 15. I'm going to divide both sides by 3 and pause. Did I divide by a negative number? No, so the symbol stays the same. X is less than 5. I solved it. Let's graph it. So we're going to draw a number line. Always put your number right here in the middle and then put one number on either side. Then decide, okay, do I want an open circle or a closed circle? It's less than, so I want an open circle. And then I'm going to follow the direction, and then at the end I have my less than symbol. So that has been solved and graphed. We'll do one more together. Solve and graph. So because it's going to be a closed circle, I'll use that solid line. And what we're going to do is distribute this negative 0.6 to both terms inside. So that's going to be a negative 0.6x. And then that's going to be a positive 3 is less than or equal to 15. I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. Negative 0.6x is less than or equal to 12. Now I'm going to divide both sides by negative 0.6. Pause. I'm dividing. Did I divide by a negative? Yes. So I'm going to reverse that less than or equal to become a greater than or equal to. And I get x is greater than or equal to negative 20. That has been solved. We're going to graph it. Remember that negatives are kind of like a mirror to the positive. So we're going to graph the two numbers on either side. We're going to decide if it is closed or open. We've got a or equal to, so it's going to be a closed circle, and we're greater than, so we're going to go in that direction. You try these 4 problems on your own. Take the time, be careful of your negatives when you multiply or divide, and then I'll show my work on the next 2 slides. Numbers 1 and 2. Take a note here on this problem. Notice that you cannot graph it because the m is on the wrong side. So to rewrite it on the correct side, I look and notice that that point is facing at the m. So I want to make sure that the point is still facing at the m. Be really careful when the variable's on the wrong side. Numbers 3 and 4. Again, same thing with number 4. That openness is facing that b. So I want to make sure when I rewrite it, the openness is still facing b. We're going to do a couple more examples. This time we're given a graph. We need to write an inequality. So the best way to write an inequality is to follow the same rule that the variable must come first. So I know that x comes first. Then I know I'm going to have some symbol. And then, so there's going to be like some symbol there. And then I'm going to have a number. Well, the number is always where the dot is. So in this case, the number is 6. So then I decide, okay, open or close circle. It's closed. So that means it's going to have that equal to line on it. It didn't come out very straight. There we go. And then I kind of look at the end of the arrow, and that literally tells me it's a less than. So the inequality here is x is less than or equal to 6. We'll do one more together. So I know that I'm writing an inequality. So I'm going to start with x. I know that it's going to be something, and then the number. The number is where that circle is, so it's going to be 2. It's an open circle, so no line. And then I look at the end of my arrow. It's going to be a greater than. So x is greater than 2. You try these next 4 problems on your own. And these are the solutions. That concludes inequalities in one variable.